Hello BookTube. Today for Tag Tuesday, I have an original tag, the Decor Tag. This tag was inspired by my interest in architecture and interior design, as well as BookTube's own architecture critic at large, Steve Donahue, who in some of his mail hauls will get issues of Architectural Digest and other decorating, architecture, etc. themed magazines, and he will go through them and he will critique the design foibles of the less than 1%. So I have 7 prompts, of course the 7th being tag people, which I'll get to at the end. So prompt number 1, what is your design style? I would say my design style is eclectic with an adaptive edge, meaning that my design style would try to fit into the style that any given space I'm living in would best suit. So say if I'm in a Victorian style house, I would try to design it or decorate it with an eye to more traditional styles, maybe Victorian antiques or modern reproductions or modern pieces that are in a traditional style. Prompt number 2, how many rooms in your home contain your personal library? So my personal library is largely contained to this room right here, my bedroom. I do have some books spilling out into the hall. Immediately in front of my room, there's enough space that I can get 2, maybe 3 bookcases, depending on their size. And if I could find something to do with my dresser, would be that space. And then my cookbooks are in the living room where they are most appropriate. Prompt number 3. How often do you rearrange or redecorate your spaces? So I think the last time I meaningfully rearranged this room here was about 2 years ago, when I did a massive rearrangement. Although I did do some cosmetic rearrangement a few months ago when I pushed the history wall further this way and switched out the bookcase that was here with this one here, which was in the hall. And I am thinking of, in the future, picking up more bookcases like this or a similar style to sort of add to like in the hall, to maybe replace the bookcase that my brother built. Although I do, even though it doesn't quite have as much space for books as I would like, I do have some sentimental attachment to it, so I don't know. But I would like to kind of get more bookcases at some point. My mom, on the other hand, she loves to redecorate and to rearrange. It's probably once a month or so that we will take a Friday to just rearrange the living room space. And sometimes that rearrangement can come rather often and sometimes not, depending on how satisfied she gets with that room. Prompt number 4. Have you ever had your home professionally remodeled or designed? No. I've never had any sort of contact with like contractors or professional interior decorators. Prompt number 5. Do you watch or read media devoted to architecture, interior design, and decorating? Yes, I watch HGTV practically every day. largely during my reading period. My mom, who largely has control of the TV, um, loves watching HGTV, um, and I love it too. I mean, some of my favorite programs are um, Fixer Upper, Hometown, Good Bones, the 5 billion shows that Drew and Jonathan Scott produce, Fixer to Fabulous, 100 Day Dream Home, and some older stuff like Design on a Dime, Designing for the Sexes. I think Color Splash I quite liked. Also liked Trading Spaces, particularly the earlier seasons, which was a TV show on TLC, which largely sort of augured the shift from the Learning Channel to whatever the hell TLC is now. I also really like This Old House, although I haven't watched that in forever. As I mentioned before, I don't have access to PBS. The And that's a rant for another day. Although I probably could stream it, I just have never gotten around to doing it. And then on YouTube, there's a number of architecture or interior design themed channels. Architectural Digest has a wonderful YouTube channel. There's also Living Big in a Tiny House, I quite like. And there are occasional other videos like that that I find in my feeds. As far as reading's concerned, I don't subscribe to any magazines like Architectural Digest or anything like that. I don't really subscribe to magazines, period. I let my National Geographic subscription lapse a few months ago, and I don't really miss it. So, anyway, so prompt number 6. You have an unlimited budget to build your dream home. What do you do? So, A, what style would your home be? So I've been thinking about this for a while, and the more I think about it, the more the style would be idiosyncratic, more modern. There's this house I saw on, I think it was the World's Most Extraordinary Homes, which here in the States is on Netflix, I think. Or it was the last time I checked. That I think it's the Spain episode where the hosts went to this house that was in a, I want to say it was a triangle type shape, or it's basically like where there's like a common space, and then there were 2 separate wings for the family, like for different sides of the family, because I think it was like 2 or 3 sisters owned it in common. And so each side of the house outside of the common area was for like a specific family. And then there was a common like courtyard area. I think I'm kind of getting it right, but it's something like that, or something similar, maybe a tiny house sort of conglomeration that I've seen a few times on Living Big in a Tiny House. But the exact style I'm not entirely sure of. So B, what would you do with your library? So for me, I think instead of having a separate library space, I would want to keep my library and my bedroom combined like I do now. And here I have some definite ideas of what I would like to do. I would like, as much as possible, to have the walls lined with bookcases with smaller windows sort of at the top of the room with so I mean the bookcases wouldn't be like floor to ceiling. They would be sort of about 6 feet or so, I don't want to have to get on a footstool or a ladder of any kind. And then I like for some of the bookcases to be sort of freestanding within the room space, uh, or kind of coming off of the wall, sort of like when I do my filming at my desk, and you kind of see behind me there's a bookcase sort of that's jutting out towards the camera. I'll do a video later tonight and I'll kind of show you what I'm talking about. If I could do something like that with like a double-sided bookcase or like two bookcases back to back, or like even freestanding within the space itself. But I've also had the idea of having my bed in the center of the room, surrounded on at least three sides by bookcases, like being a platform and then having bookcases as part of the bed itself, and then sort of forming a three-sided wall. But yeah, I don't know, that's maybe a bit outre. And then of course on top of the bookcases would be like art and other things to sort of liven up the space. C, what are there anything specific you would like to do to any other rooms or spaces? So I've always had I don't know how appropriate these ideas would be for this specific fantasy space, but I've always wanted, like, I've always envisioned like a living room or a sitting room with a warm, creamy, lemony sunlight yellow that kind of is a bit cluttered and a bit comforting. I think it's a bit more of a traditional kind of styled space. And then there's always been this dining room space that I've wanted for years that has a like a bright, rich red wall as at least an accent wall with a art chandelier sort of over it. That I know for sure that space is more appropriate to like a modern or industrial style condo. And so, D, are there any specific pieces you would like to use in those spaces? So, I'm kind of obsessed with these lampshades and chandelier shades from Uladarni. They're that I discovered or encountered in 2004, 2005. I was taking a class on creative writing, and for the story I was writing, the main character was interested in and was collecting porcelain figurines. And so I was looking up antique stores in Austin, and one of them had an agreement with Uladarni's studio to sell her stuff in Austin, and I loved the look of them, and I've kind of always in the back of my mind would have liked to have some of her pieces in various spaces. And I would also like to add some like art, none of them like that I would probably collect, although the specifics I don't know for sure. Although there are some YouTubers, like say Marla Becketta, Karen Margulis, Alain Picard, that I would like to have. And then there's Liz Haywood Sullivan, Debbie King Mertz. I like both of their work quite a bit. And a number of others. So yeah. Anyway, so finally, prompt number 7 is tag people. And I tag everybody, but most especially Steve Donahue, because he did inspire this tag in part, and I would love to see his responses. But again, If you would like to do this tag, you're tagged. So I will be back in a few minutes with another video, and then I'll do one later on tonight and kind of reference back to kind of show you what I'm talking about here about the sort of bookcase that's kind of coming out into the room rather than being along the wall. But anyway, BookTube, I will be back in a sec. So until then, thank you. Be back in a sec. Because I think I might have flipped my words there. But anyway, have a great afternoon and stay safe.